Welcome to Whatever Happened to Pizza at McDonald's, the investigative journalism program where I ask the question, whatever happened to the pizza at McDonald's? I'm your host, Brian Thompson. Last week was the holiday of American Thanksgiving, and I am happy to report that several listeners wrote to tell me they shared my 2022 Thanksgiving prayer with their families around the dinner table. No word on whether the families in question enjoyed the prayer, but this is a moot point. The prayer's primary purpose was not to be enjoyed, but instead to inspire conversation about McDonald's pizza and related topics. No word on whether it did that either, but I am hopeful it did do so. However, it seems many families need not have been inspired by my prayer to discuss McDonald's pizza and related topics, since the long-lost menu item in question was mentioned on national television during the CBS television network's coverage of the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. For those who live in other countries, or who live in the United States but are simply ignorant of our holidays and customs, I should explain that the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade is an annual parade conducted in the city of New York, New York, United States, New York, on Thanksgiving Day. As the name would indicate, the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade is sponsored by the department store chain Macy's, which, believe it or not, is still in business. The event consists of several elaborate floats, marching bands, costumed characters, and D-list celebrities snaking through the concrete canyons of the city for the benefit of families who gather on the sidewalk in the freezing cold to catch a glimpse of an American Idol runner-up waving from atop of a giant papier-mâché turkey. I typically do not watch the parade myself. My Thanksgiving days are usually spent waiting by the telephone in case someone from my family calls to invite me to dinner, and I cannot risk missing the telephone ring on account of being distracted by the television. But this year, it seems I should have altered my typical plans. Not only because once again no one called to invite me to dinner, but also because one of the reporters reporting on the parade volunteered some both metaphorically and literally eyebrow-raising information regarding McDonald's pizza. As longtime listeners may recall, some time ago, I got into a bit of an altercation with my colleague Mr. Greg Kelly, host of the program Greg Kelly Reports on the ultra-right-wing news channel Newsmax. Somewhat bizarrely, Mr. Kelly claimed that his local McDonald's stopped serving the filet-o-fish sandwich, and he launched into what can only be described as a deranged tirade about the matter. Far be it from me to criticize a fellow practitioner of the journalistic arts, but I suspected there was more to this filet-o-fish story than Mr. Kelly was letting on. He posted what he purported to be a photograph of the McDonald's location in question, and through some diligent reporting, I determined that the photograph was an exact copy of another photograph posted by a person who left a review of that particular McDonald's restaurant on the Google.com information service. Going yet further with my award-worthy investigation, I discovered the exact address of this particular McDonald's in the city of New York, New York, United States, New York. I deputized a local listener named Billy Atkinson, who visited the location and inquired about whether or not they had stopped serving the filet-o-fish. They, in fact, had not stopped serving the filet-o-fish, and Mr. Greg Kelly was exposed as a fabulist of the highest order. Well, my deputy, Mr. Atkinson, has once again come to my aid. On Thanksgiving Day, he sent me a clip from the CBS television network's broadcast of the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade that I found quite interesting indeed. CBS's coverage of the event was co-hosted by Mr. Kevin Frazier, a reporter for the CBS-owned syndicated entertainment news program Entertainment Tonight. Upon viewing a passing gigantic balloon of McDonald's mascot Ronald McDonald's, Mr. Frazier had this to say to his co-host.
You know in the 70s at McDonald's you could sell pizza?
Did you understand it? Allow me to play it again, only slower and more enhanced.
You know in the 70s at McDonald's you could sell pizza?
Quote, "Did you know in the 70s that McDonald's used to sell pizza?" Unquote. By the 70s, I believe Mr. Fraser is referring to the decade of the 1970s. This decade is well known for quite a few things: President Richard Nixon's plumbing problems, the popularization of CB radios, muscly Native American men wearing fringed suede vests with no shirt underneath, and Little League teams full of foul-mouthed children with fuzz on their upper lips. Notably absent from this list is McDonald's pizza. This is because, according to all known research on the matter, the vast majority of which was uncovered by me in the course of my years-long investigation, McDonald's pizza was not, in fact, served in the 1970s. Minus some vaguely pizza-like test products in the 1980s, McDonald's did not begin serving pizza until the early 1990s, one less than 3 whole decades after the beginning of the 1970s. As a fellow journalist, I can only assume Mr. Fraser holds himself to a very high standard of fact, and would not carelessly state something on air that he knows to be untrue. Despite having revealed Mr. Greg Kelly to be nothing more than a dastardly scoundrel, I believe he is the exception to the rule that journalists are rigorous and ethical professionals who rarely get anything wrong. But on the other hand, while journalists are better than other humans, they are still just that, human. And they are not immune to making mistakes. I include myself in this assessment, as my list of personal mistakes is quite long. In the interest of time, and also in the interest of avoiding any deepening of my shame and embarrassment, I will not recount them here, but I assure you, I have made them. This is why journalists such as myself and Mr. Fraser have a metaphorical tool in our figurative bag of tricks called the retraction. Pull a newspaper out of any birdcage, and you will see, perhaps under a smear of droppings, that there is almost always a section devoted to retracting errors that were made in previous editions. Usually these are borderline inconsequential mistakes, such as misspelling a name or prematurely printing Henry Kissinger's obituary. But some errors are so egregious that they necessitate an immediate and forceful retraction in a public forum a bit larger than a section of a newspaper. I am not sure this is one of those times, but just to be sure, I made sure.
Thank you for calling CBS Audience Services. If you wish to leave a recorded comment about a CBS News or entertainment program, you may do so at the sound of the tone. We regret that we are unable to return phone calls. If you wish to send an email or get answers to popular questions, please go to cbs.com/feedback. Thank you.
Record your message at the tone. When you are finished, hang up or press pound for more options.
Hello, this is Brian Thompson, yes, the journalist. I'm just calling to bring some attention to a statement stated by one of your reporters, Mr. Kevin Frazier of Entertainment Tonight. He was a co-host of your coverage of the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. I did not get to see most of the coverage myself on account of a personal matter that's really no one's business but my own, but I was made aware of an instance during an appearance of a giant Ronald McDonald's balloon wherein Mr. Fraser stated something along the lines of this exact quote, "Did you know in the 70s that McDonald's used to sell pizza?" unquote. Now, I have reason to believe this statement is factually incorrect, and my reason is that I am the world's foremost expert on McDonald's pizza. I have reached out to Mr. Fraser on Twitter.com asking for any evidence of the veracity of this statement, but I have yet to receive a response. He is either too busy or too embarrassed to respond, and that is understandable. But if you could please forward this message to whomever is in charge of internal affairs at CBS, perhaps your ombudsperson, etc., I believe a fair and thorough review will back up my assertion that pizza was indeed not served at McDonald's in the 1970s and was instead served first in the 1990s. If and when you verify this fact, I do believe it would behoove you to run a corrective program commensurate with the audience reach of your Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade coverage. Looking at CBS ratings, it appears that one of your most watched programs is a show called Blue Bloods, which is about a family of police officers led by Magnum PI himself, Mr. Tom Selleck. I do not want to step on the proverbial toes of the producers, but perhaps I could appear on this show maybe as a journalist, potentially investigating allegations of police brutality against Mr. Selleck or something like that. And maybe during one of my scenes, I could mention that McDonald's did not sell pizza in the 1970s and instead sold it in the 1990s. That's just one idea. I would also be open to a full hour-long sit-down interview on a special edition of your program, 60 Minutes. Maybe perhaps even with the queen of interviews herself, Miss Oprah Winfrey. Anyway, if you could give me a call back, my telephone number should be on one of the many job applications I've sent to CBS News. Thank you for your time and your attention, and I hope to hear from you soon. And now, a word from our sponsor. We do not have to get into the details as to why, but chances are good you need new underpants. Something happened that is almost certainly none of my concern. Of course, I am interested, but frankly, it would be rude of me to ask. We will just agree that you need new underpants and leave it at that. In fact, now that I ponder it, perhaps I do not even want to know. Whatever it was that you either did to yourself or was done to you, resulting in a need for new underpants, one underpants retailer you may want to consider is the one called MeUndies. If this is a real emergency, you may not be able to wait for shipping, in which case purchasing underpants that are more immediately available would be more than prudent. But if your underpants incident is something that can wait a little while to be corrected, MeUndies is an option. MeUndies. Good luck with your issue. Do you know what happened to pizza at McDonald's? Do you remember it? Please send all correspondence to pizza@mcdonalds@gmail.com. To support the show, please join my Patreon at patreon.com/pizza@mcd's for exclusive benefits. And for more information, including important announcements, useful links, educational blog posts, etc., visit pizza@mcdonalds.com. Thank you to my invaluable Patreon producers: Isabella Zelaskowski, Jacob Ford, Joe Kajik, Kimberly King, Kyle Turok, Pam Gabriel, Will, Andrew Duffy, Andrew Ahmed Johnson Rubin, Billy Jean, Brad Allen Thompson, David Friedman, Felix Dooley, Jay Poop, Calvin Thomas, Kat Resney, Laurel Paul, Mel, Mitchell Kordick, Opus Mareshi, Grant Bacon, Gerald Lewis, and Ryan Guggenmoss. I'm Brian Thompson, investigative journalist.